What are some of the pitfalls you've seen from the misuse of technology with children? Do you guys have any examples? I can imagine. Like, for example, I am waiting for someone to be brave enough to do a survey. We have got so many violent games on the internet. What is the percentage increase in teenage violence after these games were released? There isn't a survey, right? What is the rate of teenage porn addiction? Because the internet is so accessible. And there's no way that anyone can block every single porn site. So what are the rates of teenage porn addiction? What are the violence rates? These are surveys that I would love to see done. So what are some of the pitfalls? Does anyone else, do you have any ideas of that you may have seen?
I think not just dangers of porn sites and all. I think even gambling. A lot of young adults turn to gambling and it's become an addiction.
So gambling is yet another, because actually you're right, I see our guys in my office do this all the time. They're on these, I mean, admittedly, it's not money, right? It's these poker games that you play, and you go, I'm going to play 10 minutes. 2 hours later, the guy is still playing the game. And I'm thinking, if you were playing for real money, how much have you lost? But it becomes an addiction, you're absolutely right. What about from a principal's point of view? Do you see any of this sort of stuff in the kids?
I think the biggest challenge that parents get concerned with, besides possible violence, as you say, or porn, is addiction to a particular game. And I know a particular professor in NTU who's doing a research, very massive research on gaming. She herself is a gamer, and she's in her 50s. You should talk to her.
Yes, right? I should.
But I mean, she will tell you that gaming does develop leadership skills. Because if you're going for a quest, you need to be able to work with others. You need to be able to lead that team of 20 or 30 people to kill that monster. Alright? It does develop certain skills and communication skills and the like. But the reality is it takes a lot of time. You know, and she shared with parents that it normally will take about 3 hours to do a quest. Right? So that's where parents need to negotiate with their children about when they should be doing something like this, to be the weekend or the school holidays, rather than the weekday, because you're never going to finish a quest in an hour. I think an hour time, as Jeff said earlier, is fairly reasonable for most school age children.
Yeah.
All right. So those kind of problems, I think, are things that we do see from school children. You know.
Does she have any take on the violence in the games? I'm just curious.
So,
does she have a take on the violence?
Yeah. Not only violence, but in certain games, there's porn going on. So those are things that she is concerned about. You know, but at the same time, it's finding the balance. And with that too, I will share that I do know of parents who play games with their children. Okay. So they go on the quest with their children. And they go and do it together. So it creates opportunity to build parent and child bonding too. You know? So you go with your avatar. It can be quite fun.
How many of you would be willing to play a computer game with your children? No? No, not at all. You would?
Yes.
Good, you should. You should, because I think that's a great bonding experience.
I think there is a game, some farming game or something, or some zoo thing.
I don't know. I stray away from games completely. To me, I cannot justify 3 hours in front of a screen. It's just too long.
For me, the downside of technology, of all these games, the iPod and all that, is the fact that they read less. Because the internet, everything is so instant, everything is so fast. The minds are stimulated all the time. Fast images, fast music, everything. So the old hobby, like what you used to do, sit down, chill out with a book, that's no longer quite as attractive.
But no, but you see, if you train your child right, as your friend has done, that book can be found on your iPad.
Yeah,
It
so
can be a download.
Okay, good. So I was having this discussion with him. I said, okay, so he's used to instant images. Yes, he can read now, but how much will he sit down? I don't know. The jury is still out there because would he sit down with an old-fashioned book and find information from it, or does he want it really quick? I mean, I'm more concerned about the instant gratification part, which technology has engendered.
It's quite interesting because I've got two of my daughters, one's 18 and one's 20. One is not a reader. The 18-year-old is not so much of a reader, but the 20-year-old is still very much a reader. She likes the old-fashioned book, even though she has access to the internet. So it really does depend on each child.
Yeah.
Quite interesting. How do you think, this is just the last thing we'll talk about, then we'll open it up for questions if you guys have questions. How do you think technology can be leveraged on to enhance family life? How can we use technology to make our family life better? It's an interesting question because most of us see it, we see the negative effects. We see it as pulling the family apart. But for example, playing games as a family, that works. But are there any other ways?
Even the SMS, I mean, if you have teenage kids and they're out there and you want to know, they tell you that they're going to come home at a certain time, and they know it, they can send you a text message, rather than leave you worrying what's going on.
I like the iPhone WhatsApp's application where I can talk to my family members who are overseas, almost instant in real time.
What are you doing? Pay for it. That's the important part.
That's the best thing.
You don't have to pay for
Exactly.
it.
Well, I think NTUC has a certain app, I don't remember the name now, it's in the material, but it tells families where they can get discounts in Singapore.
That's right.
That's good too.
That's another good app. That's another good app.
Peter brought out something that really brought out flashback of wonderful memories. I remember standing in the cold in England every Sunday after lunch because that was the appointed time with my parents, and I would stand in a freezing telephone box and I would put in a 50p point just to call them to say, okay, I'm here, and read them the number on the public call box.
And then they would call back.
And then they would call back for that one sort of 30-minute chat in the winter cold, in day, rain or shine. I was standing there. So that brought back very wonderful memories, but now there's no for that. Exactly, now there's Skype, but yeah, so my father would always.
I think for me, SMS can be very personal. I've got two sons who are working, and without fail, they're working very, very late. I want to send an SMS to say, hope you come back soon, and please be careful.
Right.
I think within comes a lot of warmth, a lot of love.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I'm an old-fashioned person. I think I prefer pick up the phone, hear that voice, as opposed to the technology. I still haven't quite come to grips with it. Although I like the gaming idea, I think the sharing of news is a way a family can stay together. Very interesting. Because using the net, you can develop a conversation of what each member of the family thinks about this particular story. The whole Muammar Gaddafi thing. For some, I met some people who said, well, it was deserving, other people thought it was shocking. So it's very different, and it was all from internet footage that we saw. So it really does depend. Anybody got any more questions?